For a solid quarter of a century, if you were a traveller on the desolate Scottish coastline, you might have just vanished into thin air. No trace, no witnesses, no bodies. But the truth of what happened was far more horrifying than anyone could possibly imagine. What if I told you that these missing people weren't just murdered? They were being hunted by a single, inbred family of cannibals. This is the wild story of the Sawney Bean Clan and their 25-year reign of terror. Our story, or maybe I should call it our legend, kicks off in the 15th or 16th century with a man named Alexander Sawney Bean. Born in East Lothian, Scotland, Sawney's dad was a ditch digger, but Sawney quickly realised and decided that a life of honest work just wasn't for him. He was a wild guy with a nasty temper, and he soon found a partner who matched his dark side perfectly. A woman named Black Agnes Douglas. Agnes had been accused of witchcraft and was already a marked woman. Together they decided to just completely check out of society. They fled their homes and eventually found the perfect hideout on the Ayrshire coast, a remote sea cave near Beanan Head. Now this was no ordinary cave. The entrance was hidden, and at high tide water would flood hundreds of meters into its passages. It was like a natural security system. The ocean acted as a self-locking vault door, making the lair invisible and unreachable for a good chunk of the day. The cave itself was huge, a network of tunnels stretching deep into the rock, more than enough room for what would become their lair. It was here, in this damp, dark and isolated spot, that Sawney and Agnes started their new life, a life they funded by robbery and murder. Sawney would ambush travellers on lonely roads, but he quickly realised that leaving witnesses was a bad business model. To cover his tracks, he started killing his victims, and to get rid of the evidence and to avoid the hassle of going into town for food, he made a horrific decision. He and Agnes started eating the bodies. From that gruesome start, the Bean clan began to grow. Tucked away from the world in their cave, Sawney and Agnes had a massive family, 8 sons and 6 daughters. As this first generation grew up knowing nothing but darkness and their parents' brutal lifestyle, the family tree stopped branching out and instead began to twist back on itself, becoming less of a tree and more of a tangled, thorny web. The children had children with each other, and before long, the clan swelled to a horrifying 48 members, including 18 grandsons and 14 granddaughters. With so many mouths to feed, their grim work had to scale up. The clan operated with terrifying efficiency. Under the cover of darkness, they'd lay ambushes on the roads, sometimes taking on groups as large as 6 at once. Victims were simply overwhelmed by the clan's sheer numbers and ferocity, pouring out of the shadows like a human tidal wave. There were never any survivors left to tell the tale. The bodies were dragged back to the cave, where the truly unspeakable work began. The corpses were dismembered and butchered. Whatever the family couldn't eat, they salted and pickled in barrels for later, stocking their grim pantry with human flesh the same way a farmer might store cured hams. Any extra bones and remains were just chucked into the ocean. For 25 years, this clan sustained itself entirely on the people they murdered, never once needing to go to a store. They were a self-contained unit of ambush, murder and cannibalism, racking up what would become Scotland's longest missing persons list. Over their reign of terror, it is said they murdered and ate more than 1,000 people. Now we know the whole story behind the Sawney Bean myth, legend, true tale. Hit the like and subscribe button so you can be notified and join me on part 2 as we actually venture to Ayrshire to actually go inside Sawney's cave and see what we can find. There's mystic things, there is tales, legends, you name it, but let's go have a look and see what we can find. In the meantime, you can watch a video up here of one of my previous videos, but please hit the like and subscribe so you can join me for part 2.